Welcome back to Good Morning San Diego. Medicaid is the target of a proposed budget cut from the federal government. Edward Hershey and Fallon Lazinski from the Home of Guiding Hands joins us now with more on how this might impact thousands of people right here in San Diego, specifically individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Good morning to you both. We all know what's going on. We're a country that's $36 trillion in debt, going deeper as every day passes. And so this current administration wants to start trimming away at what they consider excess spending. You say to that?
We need to be strategic about the way that we look at trimming our budget, right? We've all had to do this in our personal finances before, save a little money, things get a little tight. But the approach that's being done, I don't think is taking into account everybody.
But the program, at least in some people's eyes, has a lot of issues as far as fraudulent payments going out and people cheating the system. If you do a Google search on Medicaid fraud, 1,000 examples come up. So there is issues in the system, are there not?
You know, I think anytime you get a large system, there's going to be issues, right? It's a lot of people, a lot of numbers to cover, but sometimes those voices go unheard, and we've seen that in the population with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that's what we're out advocating for and trying to make sure that their voices are heard.
Fallon, I've heard the president say, I've heard the Speaker of the House say repeatedly that people that need these payments are going to get them and that they're not going to be touched. In fact, if we show a little more discretion with how we spend the money, we can actually get them even more money in their hands. What do you say to that?
You know, when you look at the proposed cuts, the math just doesn't make sense. It's inevitable that there are going to be individuals who, greatly need services that are going to get impacted by those cuts. The math just doesn't add up.
At this hour, though, nothing's changed. This is all, you're raising the red flags in advance of what you think is going to happen, correct?
Yeah, so we were recently in Washington, D.C. advocating on behalf of the clients that we serve, and the information that we were receiving was pretty sobering in the sense that the cuts are coming, and just how it's going to impact is the unknown right now.
So, Edward, pick up on that. What's your biggest fear in all this?
You know, my biggest fear is that history is going to repeat itself. It wasn't that long ago that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities were put away in institutes. Geraldo did a piece on that on Willowbrook, where there were budget cuts after budget cuts, and people with disabilities were just silenced, put away, and forgotten. And that's what I don't want to happen again. Is there some opportunity to save some money? Yes, but not on the back of this population.
So I'll give you a stab at it. If the Speaker of the House was sitting here right here and he said to you, hey, the people that need this money are going to get it, what would you say to him?
I'd say, show me the numbers. As Fallon said, the math isn't adding up right now. $880 billion from the system does not add up to the amount of waste that is predicted.
But you guys both obviously read the headlines, and you see some of the criminal elements that go in and that are cheating the system. Making the system more secure, doesn't that benefit us all? Val?
No, and it does. I think where we just need to be careful, as Edward said, to be strategic about it, to ensure that the services of these individuals that they rely on for their daily lives is not impacted. And it just, right now, we're struggling to see the path forward where that's not the case.
Because is your money all come from D.C., or how much does it come from Sacramento as well?
So our funding, about 40% of it comes from D.C., and then the state makes up the difference from that. So
because we're living in a state that has got severe financial issues, and I think the big fear for everybody is that this whole thing goes belly up, and then everybody's out of luck.
Right. You know, making those strategic cuts without forgetting about the individuals. I hope, as you say, that the people that need it are going to get it. That's what I want to make sure happens.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that if we're more judicious with how we spend the money, that the people that actually really are, benefit from it are actually going to get a bigger slice. I know I live in a make-believe world, But that's hopefully the case. But I hope you guys will come back as we know exactly what's going to happen and we can bring real-life examples to people. I think that would be beneficial for one and all, especially the politicians both in Sacramento and D.C.
You know, that's our goal. We're going to make sure that the voices of the people with intellectual and developmental disabilities are heard and that their needs are met.
Well, it doesn't hurt to be talking, right?
Doesn't.
Doesn't, no.
Well, we appreciate you rolling in so early. My regards to Lenny, and I hopefully that we'll have a better grasp of this in 6 months' time.
Yes.
I mean, right? I mean, that's going to be kind of the timeline, right?
That's the goal. Yeah.
All right.